Second, Jivatma Swarupam. We are all born as Sesha. You might have heard of a lot of these names in the South Indian tradition. T.N. Seshan, Sesha Sai, Seshan. What is Seshan? There are two words in Sanskrit. One is Seshi, the other one is Seshan. Seshi is a person who accepts services. Seshan is a person, one who does services. One who serves is Seshan. One who accepts service is called a Seshi. We are all born in this world to do services. Whichever form we are doing some kind of a service. So that is Seshan. Whereas the Lord is born or prone to accept services. So he is Seshi. That is why you must notice, nobody must have the word Seshi as a name. They will all have only T and Seshan. Even the dog which is outside our house, it's not called Alseshi. It is called Alseshan. So very well they have coined this word also in such a way that it is adhering to the lines of our tradition. But this is on a lighter vein. Alsation has nothing to do with the Sanskrit word Seshan. Because if you quote all this, then they'll say, who's the person? My name will then go for a toss. It's just on a lighter vein to remember. Because when we used to remember in chemistry or biology, we used to make formulas. 384, 983. This is the way we used to balance equations. KMNO4, 3 put, MNO2 put 8. We never used to balance it in the exam. We used to remember telephone numbers. Likewise, in organic chemistry, I still remember making one formula. Mr. OCPQ. Meta, resorcinol, ortho, catechol, and paraquinol. Mr. OCPQ. So this is how we used to learn. So this is another way to remember. Alsation. So Seshan is the one which serves. So we are all Seshans. So the other word must be Seshi. Correct. So in CAT exams and GMAT exams, we go by a method called as answer rejection method. We never calculate the answers. We say that this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer. So this must be the answer. This is called as answer rejection method. So if we are all Seshan, we don't have to understand who the Lord is. He must be Seshi. Answer rejection method. So the first is Praptuscha Brahmano Rupam, Paramatma Swarupam. Second is Jivatma Swarupam. Now, we are all born. There are doctors seated here. I should muster a lot of courage to even say such statements, but these statements come from Vedanta. It may or may not be in line with what people learn in medicine. Nevertheless, out of great courage that I have of my Shastras, I will tell this. In this world, a child is born crying. A child is born crying. In most of the movies or teleserials, you see the father keeps wandering outside. And the moment he hears the baby cry, people come and congratulate him with Sri Krishna sweets or whatever, whichever, Anand Bhavan or whatever. These are the sweet names that I know. And you must see, nobody calls it Ram sweets because Ram was a very orthodox person. Krishna was the one who used to eat in everybody's houses. That is why they coined the shops also in the name of Krishna only, Sri Krishna sweets. Now, so when a child is born, the child is born crying. Medicine could give a lot of reasons why the child is born crying. I'll tell you what the Vedanta has to say why a child is born crying. It is believed all of us have rested in our mother's womb for quite some time, be it 8 months, 9 months or whatever. During that time period, it is believed in our Shastras as per Kapila Devahuti Samvadam in Bhagavatam that we all had complete knowledge of Parabrahman, of Paramatma while we were inside our mother's womb. We should be at least satisfied. Now if we don't have also, in some point of time we all had, inside our mother's womb, we all had that complete knowledge of Paramatma. And we were all in a posture that was meant to prostrate before the Lord. This is called as Anjali. Have you heard of this word? Anjali Mudra. Because Jalayatiti Anjalihi. Jalayatiti Anjalihi means when a person does this before us, we are the recipients of that. This posture of his makes tears roll down our eyes. So hence it is called Anjali. I'll come back again with this definition. Jalayatiti Anjalihi. Is water. Jalayatiti Anjalihi. Jalayatiti Anjalihi means water rolls down the cheeks of a person. Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam. When I see a person standing before me like this, I'll say, Aisa mat kijiye, please, please, please. So we feel a bit guilty when a person puts his hands before us. Since it makes us guilty, this posture is called Anjali. The best way to prostrate before the Lord is Anjali. The child inside the mother's womb is in the posture of an Anjali, says Vedanta Shastram. So it has complete knowledge of the Parabrahman inside a mother's womb. A great Tamil poet, the Alvar, says, Karuvarangattu Utkadandhen, Kaitoludhen, Kanden, Tiruvarangan Meyandishai. When I was inside my mother's womb, Karuvarangattu Utkadandhen, Kaitoludhen, I brought both my palms together. Kanden, I saw. What did I see? Tiruvarangan Meyantishai. I saw the sacred abode of Srirangam while I was inside my mother's womb itself, he says. The commentator remarks that every child who's inside a mother's womb has complete knowledge of Parabrahman. Now, at a certain point in time, the mother starts feeling the pain and you pull the child out. Generally, it's a process where you put the head out first, crowning. So, that time there is an umbilical cord which is cut. As per our Shastras, the father has to cut the umbilical cord. By reciting a mantra, there are 40 samskaras which have been mentioned from the birth to the death of a person. So the father has to cut the umbilical cord. In the US it is a practice now. The father can go and cut, but he does not know the mantra. That is different. He just cuts it and he gives a click for the picture and immediately posts it on the Facebook. At least such pictures are good. Some people, I think out of sheer solitude, they make statements like, I am now in science signal. This is an update in the Facebook. And there are 108 likes for it. How does it matter whether that person in the science signal or not? So, we have reached a stage where we even comment and remark on things that don't even deserve an iota of our attention. It is not even 20, it must have come to 18 or 17. With the oxygen level that we see, it must not even be 20. This is the composition of air that we read in our science. But you know what our Vedanta Shastras speak about the composition of air? It does not speak of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide or monoxide. It speaks of two. 99% of the air is composed of a component called as shatam. 1% of it is composed of other impurities. The property of this shatam, which is a component of air, is to, when it hits the skull of the child, it makes the child forget of whatever it has remembered. So we all had paripurna brahmajnanam. We all had complete knowledge of it. The moment we expose our heads to the external atmosphere, the shatam vayu comes and attacks the child's skull. So the child, whatever memory it has, it loses that memory. See, whenever you remember something and you're just about to say that and you forget, you feel like hitting and slapping your head many times. You would want to come to me and say something, you'll remember, but the moment you come to me, you'll forget. Just now I thought of saying that, I don't know, somehow it went away. So we are able to talk, we are able to express. The child is unable to talk, so it cries. It has remembered so many things, but it has forgotten, so it cries. The moment it cries, we are happy. You have also joined our party. We also forget. Come, very good, we say. Shatam, this is the component of the air. So it attacks all our heads. Some person said that shatam keeps attacking my head every now and then. Right? Now there was one child, a mystic saint in the tamarind tree hollow of Tamil Nadu who was born 42 days after the demise of Lord Krishna. This child, when he was born out of the womb of his mother, the air went and attacked the child's head. But this child said, if you're going to attack me, then I will not be able to bring the quintessence of all the 4 Vedas in Sanskrit into 4 compositions of Tamil. Thiruviruttam, Thiruvasiriyam, Periyathiruvandadi, Thiruvaimozhi. Rig, Yajuhu, Sama, Atharvanam in Sanskrit has 4 equivalents in Tamil. Thiruviruttam, Thiruvasiriyam, Periyathiruvandadi, Thiruvaimozhi. All these 4 compositions were composed by this child. If the air were to attack him, then he would forget. And if he would forget, he will not be able to compose. So the child, out of anger, kopam, he kicked that shatam vayu. Since out of kopam, he kicked shatam, he was called shatakopan. That shatakopan kicked shata. One shatakopan in Tamil Nadu hits the ball. Whichever shatakopan, you have to hit something or the other. So, this is the component of shatam, vayu. So a jivatma, like us, we all have a chetanan, we have a jivatma inside. And we have a shariram outside. Shariram is perishable. whereas the Atma is eternal. This is non-permanent, whereas Atma is permanent. There is impurity which is attached to the body. There is no impurity which is attached to the Jivatma. So this is the difference between the Atma and the body. Now the Atma has an intrinsic quality to serve the Lord at all points in time. What did I say about the service? What is the word is a person who serves called? Seshan. So the quality to serve is called Seshatvam. The person who serves is Seshan. The quality to serve is called Seshatvam. So we are all born with an intrinsic quality, characteristic feature to serve the Lord. Hence we are all Seshans. Some of us realize, some of us don't realize. The people who realized it from the start of Ramayana were three. One was Bharat, one was Lakshman, and the other one was Shatrughna. Bharat, Lakshman, Shatrughna, they realized the importance of Seshatvam and they served. Hence, the Jivatma Swarupam has been mentioned by all these three characters. So the first characteristic feature, Praptuscha Brahmano Rupam, Paramatma Swarupam, has been shown by Sitaram by giving refuge to the celestials, by following the scriptural paths, Shastram, and by giving liberation or salvation or moksham to Jatayu. Second characteristic feature, Praptuscha Pratyagatmanaha, the Swarupam of Jivatma has been mentioned by Bharata, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Next comes Upayam, the most important part of our discussion. Means, we all realize that there is somebody above us. We are all realize that we are all below that somebody. So how is this to reach that somebody? How am I to choose which is the means? So our Shastras mention of two paths. Listen to this attentively, because we keep listening to Bhagavad Gita lectures. We keep going to Vedanta lectures. How many ever times we go if we ask what is Jnana Margam? Jnana Margam is knowledge. Karma Margam is duty. We are all able to say that. Now if you ask 2-3 sentences to speak on each of these margas, then we'll get confused. This is Jnana Margam. See, please don't ask us such questions. Just move ahead. Now I'll give you the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita in a nutshell. For a Jivatma to reach Paramatma, there are two paths. You might have heard of the poem by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the one as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim. Though as for that, the passing there, says Robert Frost in his magnum opus called The Road Less Traveled By. So there are two roads before us. There is a road which takes the Paramatma to Jivatma to the Paramatma. There is another road which takes the same Jivatma to the Paramatma. The paths are different. The first path is called as Bhakti Margam. Bhakti Margam or Bhakti Yogam should not be confused with Bhakti. Bhakti is different and Bhakti Yogam is different. Oh, what is this Bhakti Yogam and what is this Bhakti? Now we say, yo, kitna bhakti hai unke paas. That bhakti will not take us to Paramatma. Because that bhakti is an exhibit of our emotions. That bhakti has 9 characteristics by Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumsarpitar Vishnoho, Bhaktische Navalakshana. Bhakti has 9 characteristics. Shravanam, to passionately listen. Kirtanam, to passionately sing. Vishnoho Smaranam, to remember the Lord with interest, with liking. Padasevanam, to offer salutations to his feet. Archanam, to do archana to him, to sing praises on him. Dasyam, to be a servant to him. Sakhyam, to be a friend to him. Atmanivedanam, to submit the Atma to him. So these are the 9 characteristics of bhakti. Whereas this is different from Bhakti Yogam, which will take us to the Lord. Bhakti will not take us to the Lord. Now don't find fault with me. Now just now we had Nama Sankirtanam. They say by doing Nama Sankirtanam you will get moksham. Nama Sankirtanam will not give moksham directly. It is called as Salambanopayam. You are all clearly confused about whatever I said now? Whatever little we knew, that also you have confused today. Don't worry. That is the beauty of a lecture. First you should be confused. Then only we should give you clarity. It should not be the vice versa. First I should give you clarity and then confuse you. First I should confuse you and then give clarity. Bhakti Yogam. Let me come to Bhakti and Bhakti Yogam. Let us take these two cases separately. Bhakti Yogam is a path, is a vehicle which carries the Jivatma inside it to the Paramatma. This vehicle called as Bhakti Yogam has two angams. Angams means parts. One part is called as Karma Yogam. The other part is called as Jnana Yogam. Karma Yogam alone will not grant you moksham. Karma Yogam should converge in Bhakti Yogam and should grant you moksham. Karma Yogam should lead you to Jnana Yogam, which should lead you to Bhakti Yogam and grant you moksham. Or Jnana Yogam should grant you Bhakti Yogam and Bhakti Yogam will grant you moksham. Jnana Yogam and Karma Yogam by themselves individually cannot give you moksham. Only with Karma and Jnanam as parts of the vehicle, Bhakti Yogam will grant you moksham. Now what is this? I will tell you one shloka which explains this. Swadharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Sadhya Bhaktieka Gocharaha, Narayanaha Param Brahma Gita Shastre Samiritaha. This is the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yogam is, we perform our Nitya Karmas and Naimittika Karmas religiously. Some people say, I have been doing all these rituals, but I don't know why I am doing it. What is the use of doing such things? It's a very good question, logical question. When you don't know why you are doing a ritual, what is the use of doing it? Now let us see this in a different way. The mother takes the infant to the doctor. A pediatrician will know which vaccines to administer a child at the right points in time. They give a sheet these days. 6th month baby, you should give this. MMR, booster, pentavalent, idallam kudukra. When the doctor administers this vaccine to the child, which is a ritual, does he say, oh my dear child, I am giving you the vaccine. This vaccine will help you protect from all the diseases. It will help you gain immunity power. He doesn't explain all of this. He gives the injection now, and the child realizes the importance of this ritual called as injection 20 years later when he reads recombinant DNA technology. Right? So the ritual was done first. The knowledge about the ritual is obtained later. So, we cannot escape from performing rituals by quoting an example stating that without understanding we cannot do our rituals. Our forefathers knew Sanskrit. So, it was easy for them to understand the meaning of the mantras, why they were doing. When you have a homam, when you have yajna, you will be worried, Arey, Purohit ji kitne mantra bolte hain? You know what are those mantras? Tam brishtva, yadatva, keep that cup there, keep this from here. This is the meaning of those. Because we do not know the language, we think that he is giving some esoteric meaning in it. Those are Sanskrit statements. Tam dharbe, take the dharba grass, keep that here, keep this there, keep that in the northern side, keep this in the southern side. But what he recites for the yajna will be at the last called as Purnahuti. So we should remember that because we lack knowledge in Sanskrit, we are not able to understand. So it is our nescience which is to be blamed rather than the ritual. It is our forefathers who committed a grave mistake by drifting from Vedic education suddenly to Western education. It should have been a transformation rather than a drift. In chemistry, we have something called as SN1 and SN2 mechanism, where you accept one OH group and where you leave an OH group and you accept a halogen. It should be a transformation. So people should, in those days our grandfathers or great-grandfathers, what they should have done is they should have learned Sanskrit. At the same time they should have gone to convents. What they did was they left all our Vedic statements. Bhadram karne vishruniyama devaha, bhadram pashet makshabhir yajatraha, thirairangaihi sashtuvagum sastunobihi. They left this Vedic mantra and suddenly they went to Baba Black Sheep, have you any wool? So, the children who are born to such people, now we feel the importance. Arey, see, I have not learned Sanskrit, so I am not able to understand. So, it is our forefathers and we who are to be blamed and not the culture. See, which country? Chinese will never let their language go. They will want people to learn their language. They will want people to come their way. There's no harm in learning English. Today my English lecture is also in English. But at the same time, we should never leave our classical languages. We should never make them extinct. We are forcefully making them extinct. So ritual is very important. They are called as karma. Nitya karma, naimittika karma. Nitya karma means what you have to do every day. Naimittika karma means that you will have to do at different points in time. Shraddham or whatever, Shraddh जो लोग आप करते हैं पूर्वजों के लिए, वो एक साल में जो एक बार आती है, उसको नैमित्तिक कर्मा बोलते हैं. So nitya karma, naimittika karma. Then there are certain yajna which are done by us so that we get mental peace. We want our sons to study well, we want to get a job, we want to get the daughter married. So we perform certain homas thinking of this desire. It is called as kamya karma. There is no necessity that you have to do it. If you do it, it will give you grace. So kamya karma, nitya karma, naimittika karma. Nitya karma and naimittika karma have to be performed. So the moment you start performing them, at some point in time, you will get a realization why you are doing it. So it leads you to jnana margam. When this karma yogam and jnana yogam are coupled, then you will be able to do ashtanga yogam. Ashtanga yogam is a yoga which has 8 parts. Yamam, niyamam, asanam, pranayamam, pratyaharam, and so on and so forth. These are the 8 parts of ashtanga yoga. So we learn about yoga. Shilpa Shetty has given one yoga CD. Everybody has given. That is not ashtanga yoga. That is just exercise. Ashtanga yoga means you will have to perform all these sangas. Yamam, niyamam, asanam, pranayamam, pratyaharam. You will have to do pranayamam. You will have to close and open and you will have to do it. And the moment I complete pranayamam, if I go take 2 pecks of some drink, it is not yoga. Remember that. On one hand, if we have this and one hand, if we have that, we cannot bring that because ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi. Sattva shuddhau drivasmritihi. Whatever we eat has an effect on the body. Eating and body and atma are not different. That will help you realize. So, this is Ashtanga Yogam. Ashtanga Yogam is bhakti. So, you have got karma, jnana, coupled in a vehicle called as bhakti. So, this is Bhakti Yogam. Now the moment I say this itself, you will realize, अरे इतना कठिन है क्या? कर्म योग, उसके बाद ज्ञान योग आएगा, और दोनों मिलकर आएगा भक्ति योग. By the time I do all this, when will I reach? That is why Bhakti Yogam is a very tough path. I spoke about 2 roads. The first one is Bhakti Yogam. What is the second path? Now please give us an easy way. Thank God there's an easy way. It's called as Sharanagati or Nyasa Vidya. Now, there are certain limitations with Bhakti Yogam. This Janma, if I initiate Bhakti Yogam, there is no necessity that I will complete Bhakti Yogam in the same Janma. It could get transferred to the next births. In the next birth, there is no surety that I will remember that I had started Bhakti Yogam in my previous birth. So, I may not even perform. So, Bhakti Yogam does not grant you moksham in that stage itself. It could get transferred to various births. Whereas Sharanagati will grant you moksham in the same birth. If you do Sharanagati today, it will grant you moksham in this Janma itself. It won't grant you moksham today. Then nobody will do it. It will grant you moksham in that birth. The next most important thing is Sharanagat in Bhakti Yoga. When your soul is about to depart from the body, you need to think of the Lord. Without thinking the Lord, you will not get moksham. That is Bhakti Yogam. Don't ask me why. That's what the Shastras say. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha mama smritaha. Whoever remembers me, they will get moksham. When we are hale and healthy itself, it is tough to remember. On that deathbed, when there are tubes from all possible directions, what is the surety that we will remember of the Lord? Right? I still remember when I was in my standard 5, my grandmother took me to the hospital. So my grandmother's father, my great-grandfather was lying on the bed. And you know, hospital beds are very high. You need 2-3 steps to actually climb and sit on it. So that at that point in time, I was a person of lesser weight and my form was much simple. So I could climb atop the bed, and the doctor said that probably he may live for a few more minutes. So it was like all those movies that you see, those machines and everything. So that was a scene that I saw in my 5th standard. So I just got up atop the bed, and I saw my great-grandfather murmuring something. He had some prostate problem or something, so they used to have this catheter attached, and it was all a different scene that I saw. So he was murmuring something. So my grandmother said, "Appa enna solrar par." What is my father saying? Go and listen. So I went close. I couldn't hear. I went closer. He said something. I went closer. He was reading, Kamala kuchachuchuka kunkumato niyata runita tulani latano kamala yatalo chanalo kapate vijayi bhavavenkata shailapate. He was remembering of the Lord at that moment. So that was the first time I realized that in Bhakti Yogam you have to remember, but very few people are blessed with such kind of remembrance at that point in time. It's very tough. So if you don't think of the Lord, whatever Bhakti Yogam you have done will go for a toss, because you'll be born again. Whatever you think of, you will be born as that. That is why in Srimad Bhagavatam, Jada Bharata thought about the deer and he was born as a deer. So Bhakti Yoga has this limitation. Now what about Sharanagati? In Sharanagati, even if you think of anybody else, you will not be born again. Because in Sharanagati, the responsibility of the Jivatma to think of the Lord is also given to the Lord. You're able to get that? In Sharanagati, you give away all your responsibilities to the Lord. Along with the responsibilities, you also give Him the responsibility of thinking about Him by us to Him. So He will think about you. You don't have to think about Him. Where has it been said? In Varaha Puranam, the Lord says, Sthite manasi suswasthe satiye sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smarta vishwarupam chamamajam tatastham riyamanam tu kashtapashana sannibham aham smarami. I will think of Him. He doesn't have to think of me. Aham smarami madbhaktam nayami paramam gatim. So Bhakti Yoga, Sharanagati. Bhakti has two parts, Jnana Yogam and Karma Yogam. Sharanagati has 5. I'll tell you what it is. Now, in Bhakti Yogam, if you start in this Janma, there is no surety that you will get salvation in the same Janma. In Sharanagati, you will get salvation in the same Janma. In Bhakti Yogam, you have to think of the Lord when the soul is departing from the body. Whereas in Sharanagati, there is no necessity that you don't have to think. When I say there is no necessity, it doesn't mean when somebody gets a remembrance, no, I will not remember. He has said that you should not remember. No, there is no necessity to remember. So there are various other differences between Bhakti and Sharanagati. Now, an itihasa should always aim to elucidate that path which is easier for people to follow. Now you tell me, what must Ramayana have chosen? Which of these two paths? Sharanagati. Because this is the easier of the two. So Ramayana chose to elucidate people with Sharanagati as the upayam. What does Sharanagati say? That we should prostrate at the feet of the Lord unconditionally. If you do this to me, then I will fall. Else, no. No this if-else statement at all. You fall unconditionally. So this is Sharanagati. So there are close to 7 to 8 Sharanagatis in Ramayana. I'll just go one by one very fast. I'll tell you why these Sharanagatis were successful. Some of them were a failure. Because at times Sharanagati can also become a failure. I'll tell you why. The first Sharanagati was performed by the celestials at the holy feet of the Lord in Kshiravdi, seeking His protection to protect them from the demons called as Ravana Kumbhakarna. They all prostrated at the feet of the Lord. They did Sharanagati. The Lord said, don't worry, I will protect you. So their Sharanagati was successful because their cause was good. When I said unconditionally, don't confuse it with what condition they had laid. It was a request. It was not a condition. Remember, there's a difference between a condition and a request. A request is, if you can just speak a few words about Gandhiji today, it will be good. Means, if I can speak. I have the choice to not speak as well. That is a request. Whereas when you put a condition, I have no other choice but to speak about him. They made a request. They never laid a condition. So that was the first Sharanagati. So it was successful. Second Sharanagati, when Ram lifts the bow of Shiva and is about to aim at it, the bow which already had a crack breaks. So listening to this thunderous voice, Parashurama comes with his bow and challenges Ram. Hey Ram, you have broken this arrow. If you are a courageous person, handle the bow which I have as well. At that point in time, thinking that this Parashurama would harm his son Ram, Dasharatha does a Sharanagati at the feet of Parashurama, saying, please forgive my son. But this Sharanagati was not successful. You know why? Because Sharanagati done by Dasharatha was right. But to whom was it done? It was done to Parashurama. Parashurama is not the complete incarnation of the Lord. He is a Shakti Aveshya Avataram of the Lord, wherein only his short-temperedness of the Lord is inside him. When you have one quality which is not coupled with other qualities, then you become a very short-tempered person. So you never find temples for Parashurama generally. So this must have not been done at the feet of Parashurama. It was done, hence it was a failure. Next Sharanagati, when Ram and Sita were about to leave to the forest, Sabhratus Sharanaugadam Nividhya Raghunandanaha Sitam Uvacha Atishayam Raghavam Cha Mahavratam. Lakshmana comes and prostrates at the feet of Ram and Sita, saying that when you are leaving to the forest, I want to accompany you as a servant. Aham Sarvam Karishyami Jagrataha Swapataschate. When you people are sleeping, I would like to do every kind of service to you. So this was the Sharanagati that was done by Lakshmana to Ram and Sita. It was successful because they took Lakshmana along with him. Next Sharanagati. Bharata came and performed at the feet of Ram, saying that, how dare you come to leave Ayodhya without me, Ram? I am your loving brother. You have to come back to Ayodhya. So this was the request laid in the Sharanagati. But Ram said, I will not be able to come now. I will be able to come only after 14 years. It may seem as if Bharata's Sharanagati was not successful, but it was, because the Sharanagati's fruit was obtained not that day, but it was obtained 14 years later. Ram came back. So this was Bharata's Sharanagati. Next came the rishis who performed Sharanagati at the feet of Ram. When Ram entered Dandakaranyam, Aranyam in Sanskrit means forest. That part of the Vedas which is read in the forest is called as Aranyakam. That is why Vedas have 4 parts: Brahmanam, Aranyakam, Samhita and Upanishad. Upanishad is the last part of every Veda. Since it is the Antima Bhagam of Veda, it is called as Vedantam. So Vedanta is equal to Upanishads. Why is it called as Vedanta? Because it is the Antima Bhagam of Veda. Anta of Veda is Vedanta. Why is it called Upanishad? Upanishaditi Upanishadaha. On recitation of it, it takes us closer to the Lord. Hence it is called as Upanishaditi Upanishadaha. Hence, Aranyam means forest. Since Ram lived in the forest for 14 years, this particular canto is called as Aranya Kandam. When Ram and Sita and Lakshman get inside the forest, then they all seek their refuge. The rishis say, Nagarastho Vanastho Va Twamno Raja Janeshwaraha. Hey Ram, you have come to the forest. You should realize our plight. 14,000 demons are trying to hamper all our penances. Please protect us from them. Ram protects them. Hence he destroys 13,999 demons. Now comes the question. What happened to the last one demon? Correct? This demon was called as Akampanam. Akampana means one who does not tremble before somebody. Kampanam is tremble. Akampanam means not tremble. How did he alone escape the wrath of Ram? Because he goes to Ravan and says about Ram's valor. Ravan asks the same question. When he has killed 13,999 people, how did you escape? Akampana said, Ram has vowed not to kill women. I took a sari that was on the war field and draped it around my body, and he thought I was a woman and I came. So Ram blessed the rishis. So their Sharanagati was successful. Next comes a Sharanagati where Sugriva has signed a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with Ram, saying that your wife is lost. My wife is lost. Both of us are sailing on the same boat. So you help in restoring my wife Ruma from my brother Vali. I shall help you in giving my monkey army to you in restoring Sita back to you. Ram agrees. He kills Vali. Kingdom is restored. Now Sugriva is in his own world. Vali, when he dies, he passes away. He tells Ram, please forgive my brother. Ram asks, why should I forgive Sugriva? He's a nice person. The only thing is, he drinks a lot. The moment he drinks, he forgets what all promises he has given. So please forgive him for all these sins. It's a philosophical lecture, but I need to bring in one lighter moment in this lecture. So at this point in time, I will give you an example. You need to forget that example the moment you listen. There was a great Tamil poet called as Vedanayakam Pillai, who speaks about the 6 people who lie inside the liquor pot. Kakai, Kuyil, Kokku, Kurangu, Karnan, Vibhishanan, Aravar, Adangiya, Panai. There are 6 people inside the liquor pot. Kaka, crow. Why does he say crow? Because the first time a person who's going to drink looks like the crow here and there if somebody is watching at me. Next, Kuyil. The moment something goes inside, even if you are not a great singer, you start singing. Right? Kuyil, Kuku, Kokilam. Kokku. Kokku is a crane. So, at some point in time, you keep looking at one bottle just like that, like a crane. Kokku. Next, you keep jotting around the chips that you have got around from here, there, and you keep jumping from here and there. Kurangu, monkey. Next, even if you don't have property, you become very magnanimous at that point in time. Tere ko kitna chahiye? So Karnan. Last is, you are not able to control yourself, you fall down like Vibhishana. Vibhishana Sharanagati, Vibhishanan. So Kakai, Kuil, Kokku, Karnan, Kurangu, Vibhishanan, Aruvar Adangiya Panai. I hope you would have forgotten this. Don't tell all that, told you all this. If somebody asks you what happened in the lecture, you will first tell this, I'm very sure. So this is what you can associate, right? See, whatever we are more prone and we know well, we associate with that. So, Sugriva had this habit. So he forgot the promise that he had made to Ram. Now Ram sends his brother Lakshman telling that go remind Sugriva. Sugriva was lying on the same bed with his sister-in-law called as Tara. Sapraskhalantim madavihvalakshim pralamba kanchi guna hemasutram salakshana lakshmana sannidhanam jagama tara namitanga yashtihi is the Valmiki Ramayana shlokam. So he goes there. Then Hanuman reminds Sugriva of the promise he has made. And Sugriva comes and does Sharanagati at the feet of Lakshman, saying that please forgive the sin that I have committed of not adhering to the promise that I have made to Ram. So this is the Sharanagati he makes, and Lakshman forgives him. So this is the next Sharanagati. The next Sharanagati is, Vibhishana comes and does a Sharanagati. This is the beauty of all Sharanagatis. Vibhishana meets his brother Ravan and says, you need to send Sita back to her husband. He says, why should I? She's somebody else's wife. How dare you even abduct her? She is not interested in you. So send her back. Ravan says, you should be supporting the cause what I have said, but you're not doing it. You are indeed supporting a person who does not like me, or probably I don't like him. So you need to get out of this kingdom. Vibhishan thought this is a blessing in disguise, and the moment one wants to start a party, there are at least 4 people who join. So ityuktva parusham vakyam ravanaha kalachoditaha utpapata gadapanihi. Vibhishan took his gada, mace, chaturbihi saharakshasaihi, with 4 rakshasas he went atop and went. He stood in the sky at the juncture where all these monkeys were standing with pieces of rock to throw at Vibhishana. Vibhishana said, Sarvaloka Sharanyaya Raghavaya Mahatmane, I have come seeking refuge at the feet of Ram, who's known to be the refuge of all living creatures on this earth. So Sugriv goes to Ram and says, you should not accept Vibhishana. He is indeed a bad person. You should not accept him. Ram, since he has signed an MOU with all these people, when you're in a coalition, you need to agree to all those people as well, right? So he said, okay, I respect your words. Now he asked Hanuman, Hanuman, you tell what is your opinion. Hanuman says, Vibhishan is a very good person. You need to accept him. So on one side you have got somebody saying he's a bad person, you should not accept. On the other side you have got Hanuman saying he's a very good person, you have to accept. Ram took the best of the two. He said, even if he's a bad person, I will accept. Sakrideva prapannaya tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadami etad vratam mama. So Vibhishana's Sharanagati was successful. The last of the Sharanagatis was the Sharanagati performed by Ram. Whom did Ram perform Sharanagati to? To the Ocean King. Because to build, today if I want to build a building here, I need to get the permission of the corporation, right? So if I have to build a bridge on the ocean, I need to get the permission of the Ocean King. So in order to get the permission of the Ocean King, he slept on the darba grass facing the east for 3 days. It is called as Prayopavesham. So he went on an ahimsa movement, non-violence, and he did that. Now everybody has started following for small reasons also. There is one strike that we all do. So he slept for 3 days. It is believed in Shastra that for 3 days if a person does Prayopavesham, the other person has to answer his request immediately. But the Ocean King did not answer. So Ram's Sharanagati was not successful. Ram got angry and he said, Chapamanaya Saumitre, get my bow and arrow, I will quench this entire ocean, I'll make it dry and we can all walk directly to Lanka. Then the Ocean King comes seeking refuge. Why was Ram's Sharanagati not successful? Because the most qualified people should not do Sharanagati at the people who do not have intellect at all. So Ocean King did not have the magnanimity to accept people's requests. So Ram should never do. That is why they say, Patratta alandu pichaidu. In Tamil, when you want to do charity also, do it to the right person. That is very important. So, this is the upayam. So, we have got two. One is bhakti, the other one is sharanagati. The easier one is sharanagati. The easier one has been adopted by our purvacharyas, by our preceptors, by our ancestors to intertwine that in Ramayana. And Ramayana is a sharanagati shastram. So, now remember the 5 characteristics. Praptuscha brahmano rupam, the swarupam, the importance of Paramatma. Praptuscha pratyagatmanaha, the form of jivatma. Praptyupaya, the means. Palam prapti, phalam is fruit, tatha prapti virodhicha, those obstacles that do not let us from reaching the Lord. So we have covered Paramatma Swarupam, we have covered Jivatma Swarupam, we have covered Upayam, which is Sharanagati. The fourth important part, which is Moksham. What is Moksham? Salvation. There are 3 different schools which speak about what Moksham is. Shankara's Maya Visishta Advaitam talks about Moksham, which is Videha Mukti, which is Jivan Mukti. What is Jivan Mukti? I will give you these 3 schools of philosophy, and I will also tell you which school of philosophy I am following. Whatever school of philosophy you are following and you are learning, please continue following that. This is what I have understood and I am telling. Brahma Satyam Jaganmitya Jivo Naivaika Naparaha. Shankara's Maya Visishta Advaita's philosophy's summary is, there is a Paramatma, Brahman. There is avidya which surmounts it. This complex of Brahman plus avidya is equal to Jivatma. You getting that now? Brahman is Paramatma. It is enveloped by avidya, which is nescience. This is equal to Jivatma. So Jivatma is the one which has succumbed to avidya. So if the Jivatma has to become Paramatma, what should that get rid of? Avidya. So what is the way to get rid of avidya? Adi Shankara says, Vakyartha Jnanam. When you read a book, when you read a scripture, whatever statements you read, if you get knowledge of it, that will help you get relieved of this avidya, and you will become Jivatma will be equal to Paramatma. So Jivatma is equal to Paramatma. In the brackets you need to put a latent characteristic called as avidya. For that avidya to go away, you should have the proper jnanam of the Shastras. This is Adi Shankara's Maya Visishta Advaitam. Advaita by another form is Guna Visishta Advaitam, which is qualified non-dualism, which has been stated by Ramanuja. He says that the entire world constitutes of 2 categories. One, sentient, animate, knowledgeable creations. The other one is insentient or creations which don't have knowledge. One is Chetanaha, the other one is Achetanaha. So the world constitutes of 2 components, Chetana, Achetana. This Chetana and Achetana is the body of a Paramatma. Hence, this complex of Paramatma with the body which is Jivatma, which is Chetana, Achetana, is what is the philosophy. The moment we realize that we are the body of the Lord, then we can attain the Lord, but we cannot become the Lord. See, Adi Shankara says you can be the Lord. He says you can become like the Lord. That is the difference between Shankara and Ramanuja. The third one is Madhva, who says that there is Paramatma, there is Jivatma. Paramatma is independent, Jivatma is dependent. This is Swatantra, this is Paratantra. You have got 5 kinds of links, which is called a Prapancham. Prapancham means 5 kinds of links. There is a difference between Achetana and Achetana. There is difference between Chetana and Chetana. There is difference between Chetana and Achetana. There is a difference between Chetana and Ishvara. There is a difference between Achetana and Ishvara. So it's called as 5 principle theory called as Prapancham. Don't worry if some of it is not easy to grasp. I'm just giving you so that this is how people have thought in our country. Now, right from my childhood, I have been trained in Ramanuja scriptures with equal respect to the other 2 acharyas. I have been following and adhering to Ramanuja's tradition of Visishtadvaita. So as per Visishtadvaita, you cannot get moksham by staying in the body. There is no Videha Mukti. You can get moksham only when the soul travels by the path of the light and reaches the abode of the Lord called as Vaikuntham. That is called as Sayujya Mukti. Sayujyam, Sarupyam, Samipyam, Salokyam. It is called as Chaturvida Anupapat. I'll tell you what it is. When we all reach there, remember one thing. The soul cannot travel by its own. ஆத்மான்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, ஆத்மா cannot travel on its own. It needs a body to travel. Here when it is living in this body. The moment it departs, it does not depart as a soul. It departs as a soul inside a body. But that body is invisible to us. A soul cannot travel on its own. It needs a body, a career. So this soul with the body reaches a particular river called as Vaitarini. There in that Vaitarini Nadi you will have lot of flesh and blood which goes. So with the help of a cow, now when I say all this, don't start mocking that where will be the cow be. Cow. See, when I say cow, there is an aspect of a cow. Cow is supposed to be humble. There will be a personification of humility there. So the moment the soul clinches to this cow, it will be able to cross that river. Then it needs to cross the second river called as Viraja. Then it reaches the 7-doored abode of the Lord called as Vaikuntham. When it reaches Vaikuntham, there is a lightning which touches this body. It is called as Amanava Shariram. Then the soul gets another body called as Sarupyam. Rupam is the Lord, the form of the Lord. Sarupyam means you become like the Lord. That is why when you go to any Vishnu temple, if you find the doorkeepers, they will also be like the Lord with a Shankh, Chakra and Gada. Because everybody in Vaikuntham are like Lord. So the moment we reach Vaikuntha also, we'll become like the Lord. It is so nice to hear such things, right? When we reach Vaikuntha, we'll also have one Shankh, Chakra, all these fittings will come to us. So Sarupyam, Salokyam, we will be in the same address. If he gives his residence as Vaikuntham Main Road, Vaikuntham Cross Street, Vaikuntham, we can give the same address because Salokyam, we get the same abode of the Lord. Samipyam, we are closer to the Lord. And Sayujyam, we are like the Lord. So these are the aspects. We won't become the Lord, we will be like the Lord. There also we will be subservient to him. So this is the Phalam. It's called as Moksham. So there are 4 characteristics that we have spoken. Paramatma Swarupam, Jivatma Swarupam, Upaya Swarupam, which is the means. Next is Phala Swarupam, which is the fruit. Now where is this Moksham spoken of? There are 2 Mokshams which are very important in Ramayana. Please listen to this. One, the Moksham that was granted by Paramatma to Jatayu. So that is Jatayu Moksham. The second Moksham is Shabari Moksham. Shabari was a hermitess who lived in the forest under the benevolence of a rishi called as Matanga. It is widely believed that Matunga was named after Matanga Maharishi. It is believed very strongly because even in the map of Ramayana, you find it very cohesive with Ramayana because Ram lived in Nasik Panchavati. After that, he lost Sita. Then he came to Sabari Ashramam. So Shabari Ashramam is closer to Matunga. So you will find this closer to Nasik. So you will find that Rama Anuyatra very closer. So we are all blessed some way or the other. Even if we are in Sayan, we are closer to Matunga. So we should all be very happy that after Matanga came Matunga. Now she was in that hermitage. While she was in that hermitage, Ram goes and what does he have? वो क्या देती है राम को खाने के लिए? Fruits. And how does she give the fruits? She bites and gives. If somebody says this, throw a stone at them. In Ramayana, it is never said that she ate and gave the fruits. नहीं, B.R. चोपड़ा सर ने दिखाया था, रामानंद सागर जी ने दिखाया था, दिखाए थे, लेकिन रामायण में नहीं है. See, we should go by what our scriptures say. We should not mingle that with our figment of imagination. Valmiki Ramayana speaks of Shabari as a Shramani. Shramani means one who lives like an ascetic. One who lives like a recluse. So she was bereft of all possessions and she was bereft of all desires on this earth. And she was serving Matanga Maharishi. Matanga Maharishi departed. While he departed, he said, Shabari, you will also attain moksham. But wait until Ram comes to this hermitage. Serve him like your guest and then you come. So the Guru has told his Sishya that she has to come this way. What Shabari used to do is, since she knew that her Guru had said that Ram would come one day, she would go to a tree. She would take a fruit. So she'll take all the fruits of the tree, dry it and keep it in a basket. So the concept of dry fruits came that day itself. So she used to go to every plant, every tree and she used to pick up fruits. So Ramayana says, Tam Vriksham Gatva, after she went to the tree, she used to taste it and she used to take the rest of the fruits, dry it. She never went to Ram, she never took a fruit and ate half of it and gave the rest to him. Even if she would, Ram will not take it. He was an orthodox person. At least if it was Krishna, it is at least fine because he eats everything and anything. Whereas Ram is a very orthodox person. See, by saying that he had consumed the remnants of the fruit which was eaten by Shabari, we think we are elevating the position of Ram. See, in bhakti we say there is no difference between something that has been eaten and not eaten. Nothing like that. In whichever form, we'll have to follow the rules of the Shastra. So Shabari was not a person who ate and she gave. Don't have such wrong beliefs. In Ramayana, there is no such thing. As well as there is another misconception. Lakshman ji ne ek arrow ko nikala aur rekha dala. वो रेखा बन गई लक्ष्मण रेखा. वो लक्ष्मण रेखा सिर्फ कॉकरोच को उसके लिए. 127 versions of Ramayana, none of the Ramayana speaks of Lakshman Rekha or Ram Rekha. In Valmiki Ramayanam, which is the Moola Ramayanam, there is no Valmiki Lakshman Rekha. Lakshman says, Tvam Devi Vanadevataha Tvai Rakshanti. Let the forest deities come and protect you, my mother. And he leaves. This is heard by Jatayu, and Jatayu comes and protects. There is no Lakshman Rekha. The moment Ravan enters that, there is fire coming out of it, then Sita is unable to go out, he is not unable to come in. All this is there in the movies and teleserials. You may continue watching them. In Ramayana, there is no such concept. If you know some verse in Ramayana which states that, please tell me. Let me increase. As far as I have learned for the last 15 years, there is no Lakshman Rekha. So, the fruit is moksham. Ram, Paramatma, gave moksham, liberation to Jatayu. Now Shabari stayed in the hermitage listening to the words of her Acharya Matanga Maharishi. So when Ram came, she gave the fruits, she did the best, offered the best of hospitality to him. At the end of it, she said, "Oh Lord, I am taking your leave, I need to go to moksham." So she goes. Ram does not grant that moksham. Ram is Paramatma, he has to grant that moksham, but he does not grant. She thinks of her guru and she leaves. Shabari moksha sakshi bhuta is a beautiful statement. Ram was just a witness to her moksham. He did not grant her. Now comes a question. Are Paramatma hi moksha dete hain? To Ram ne Shabari ko kyun nahi diya? Because with the grace of one's guru, you don't even need the grace of the Lord. Because that power of attorney rests in him. Ajnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. It is for a proper guru. Because in these days, you find gurus going inside. Today, the concept of sannyasa ashramam itself has deteriorated. This has been mentioned 800 years before in one kavyam. I'll tell you that shloka, you'll be able to relate to it. Bhiksheti sishyajana rakshana dakshineti. The poet says, how a sannyasi will be in Kali Yuga. Bhiksheti, they will take bhiksha, give me money. Sishya jana rakshana dakshineti. I am not taking for myself. I need to protect all my sishyas. Shathiti natha mathonapa kalpaneti. I need to build marriage halls and buildings. Please give me money. Third, I am not saying it. The shloka says, they will write books and sell. It seems we should never write books on Vedanta and sell it. They will sell it, it seems. Fourth, the poet says, in Kali Yuga, if you write the word sannyasi, in the brackets you put as rich man. Tasyam Kanaka Sampanam. Look at the way they have done prophecies. We speak of Nostradamus. This has been mentioned in a Sanskrit play by Vedanta Deshika called as Sankalpa Suryodayam. So this is a beautiful play in Sanskrit which was based on the philosophy of Visishtadvaita, written in answer to an Advaitic play called as Prabodha Chandrodayam. Probably when you learn Sanskrit and you get inside those plays, you'll feel the best part of this world, then you'll feel how rich we are. Today is Republic Day and there'll be a parade where people will be showing tableaus or exhibitions of each of the states. I'll tell you the best tableau India has is only Ramayana and Mahabharata. Nothing else. Why should we show all the other art forms? They are all there. They are all to be respected. They are secondary. Ramayana and Mahabharata are the biggest treasures that we have. If we fail to read it in our lifetime, we have lost something. We have lost something. I'm not saying this out of arrogance or anything. I'm just saying out of anxiety. The moment you get inside Ramayana, you'll feel the beauty of what kind of maths is there inside it. You'll feel the importance of Mahabharata when you get inside it. There's so much of it in it. We speak of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process where the leaves cook their own food by taking sunlight from the air, carbon dioxide from the... This is how we read. 5-mark question, we pass, we get a promotion. Mahabharata speaks of photosynthesis. Arkanam padapena pibati padapa. The tree, it's called vriksham. It takes arkaha. Arkaha is sun. That's why that place is called konarkaha. Kona arkaha means the angled sun. Arkaha, sun. It takes sunlight from the sun. Padena pibati padapa. The tree is also called as padapa in Sanskrit because it drinks through its roots. Correct? So padena pibati padapa. So it takes water from its roots, sunlight. Tasya, it generates within itself, says Mahabharata. It is called chlorophyll, what we call. And it grows. Photosynthesis has been mentioned. You talk about alloy. You talk about differential calculus. I can give you slokas. Like the L hospital rule, sin x by x. Limit x tends to 0. Sin 0 by 0 is 0 by 0, which is indeterminate. So L hospital rule states that you need to differentiate the numerator and denominator separately. Cos x by 1, which is cos x, which is cos 0, which is 1. So L hospital rule has been mentioned in Rarayaniyam by Bhattadri, because he belonged to a secret school of mathematics called as Sangamagramam. See, what more treasure do we want in our country? We fail to realize the treasure. We go behind 1,000 tons of gold. Why should we go behind that gold? Whether it's there or not there, it should not be a problem. That is not the treasure our country. When they said that India was a golden cage, we all think it had treasure. That is different. The treasure that we have is Ramayana and Mahabharata. And the worst thing is when Britishers came and called it mythology, and we all say, you speak about mythology. The word is wrong. It comes from the word mithya. Myth comes from the word mithya. Mithya in Sanskrit means untrue, fable. So they all coined the name that Ramayana and Mahabharata is mithya. That's why they call mythology. We don't realize, and we say mythology, mythology. Why mythology? It is truth. Satyam, satyam, punas satyam. So moksham was granted by Paramatma to Jatayu. Moksham granted to Shabari was witnessed by Paramatma because she was under the benevolence of an Acharya. So a Sadacharya, why is a person called Acharya in Sanskrit? Swayam Acharati iti Acharyaha. One who follows what he preaches is called an Acharya. If you don't follow what you preach, you are not an Acharya. Swayam Acharati. Guru, you call him Guru. Gu means Swa Andhakaraha. The internal darkness is indicated by Gu. Ru means one who annihilates it. Ru tan nirodhakaha. One who annihilates the internal darkness is Guru. Siddham satsampradaye stiradhiyamanagam shrotriyam brahmanishtam satyastam satyavacham samaya niyataya sadhuvritya sametam damba suyadi mukto says Vedanta Deshika Nyasa Vimshati. So this is the importance of a Guru. So the fourth characteristic feature, phala phalam. So Paramatma Swarupam, Jivatma Swarupam, Upaya Swarupam, Phala Swarupam. The fifth most important thing which we all need to know in 5 minutes is Prapti Virodhi, that which prevents us from attaining Paramatma. That we should know very well. That is our Ahankaram and Mamakaram. Now, हम अहंकार के लिए बहुत मीनिंग डाल देते हैं. अहंकार को हम घमंड बोलते हैं, arrogance. That is just one meaning. The right meaning for ahankara in Vedanta is, please listen, anahatve aham janasi. That is one anaham. Okay. Aham in Sanskrit is I. You might have heard, people who have read basic Sanskrit will know. Aham avam vayam. Tvam yuvam yuyam. Saha taute tam tautan. Tena tabhyam taihi. Tasye tabhyam tebhyaha. We have all learned Sanskrit only for scoring purpose. That is the biggest problem. Right. 100 vaanganona Sanskrit edu. Sanskrit is beyond that. When you read Sanskrit, you will know the beauty of it. While I was in Pilani, I still remember, I used to give discourses on Ramayana then. So there used to be 30, 40 people, students who will be seated in a campus of 4,500 students. So we used to have campus interviews in the fourth year, third year end or fourth year. So campus interviews companies used to feel that if a person knows a foreign language very well, they will be they'll have the upper hand. So there was a big notice put up, learn German in 30 days. So we had to pay some 2,000 rupees and I joined that course. I thought whatever Sanskrit I've learned is not going to help me. Because nobody says learn Sanskrit will give you a job. What is the use? So I thought let me take German. And I went to the class. I brought one German sweater. I wanted to be like German. So I brought all this. It was 45 degrees in Pilani, yet I wore a sweater and I went to the class. So the teacher, the German tutor comes to the class. She writes on the board. I wanted to note down whatever she's written. She writes, Sanskrit is the mother of German. So I thought, wherever I go, the Sanskrit is not going to leave me. Why did she write that? In Sanskrit, you have certain grammatical rules. The Indian classical languages don't follow the rules of Sanskrit exactly. They have their own rules. Some of them are from Sanskrit. In most of the Indian languages, you have only Ekavachanam and Bahuvachanam. Ekavachan means one. Bahuvachan means ek se zyada. Anek vachan ya bahuvachan bolte hain. ठीक है ना? Book, books. Man, men. Pen, pens. This is how it is. One more than one. Sanskrit is the only language which has one, two and more than two. It is not one and more than one. Ekavachanam, dvivachanam, bahuvachanam. Ramaha, Ramaha nahi hai. Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha. Guruhu, Guru, Guravaha. So you have got one, two and more than two. German is the only other language in the world which has one, two and more than two. It has come from Sanskrit. Most of the words in German, they say, when I learned, they have all come from Sanskrit. One of the biggest things that you might have heard, Lupta, in Sanskrit you have got various vibhakti. Vibhakti are cases. Prathama vibhakti, dvitiya, tritiya, chaturthi, panchami, sashti, sambodhana prathama. So Ramaha, Ramam, so Ram, by Ram, of Ram, for Ram. This is how you come to the cases. In Chaturthi Vibhakti, the fourth case, there is something called as Lupta Chaturthi. Lupta in Sanskrit means disappeared. Nahi hai. It is hidden. That is why in Narayanaya, when we say Narayanaya, Aya Shabdam is Lupta Chaturthi. Let us not get inside that, don't worry, I'll tell you what it is. So it is Lupta Chaturthi. Lupta means disappearing. Hamsam in Sanskrit is a mystic bird that had the ability to distinguish and demarcate milk from water. Now don't put a hamsam before milk and ask it to separate. All our milk is completely water. Where will it separate? Only if there is milk with water it will separate. Entirely it is water, then what will it separate? So it has the ability to separate. Hamsa. That is why great people like Hamsas who know how to demarcate the good from the bad are called Paramahamsas. Hamsa, Paramahamsa. So Hamsa is a mystic bird that flies. Lupta means disappearing. When the bird flies above the troposphere and when it reaches the stratosphere, you find it disappearing. You find it going away. Lupta Hamsa, disappearing bird, that became Lufthansa. Today in that flight, if you see the emblem, you can see a beautiful mystic bird as the emblem. You take most of the words. I can go word after word. But all that I'm trying to say is Sanskrit is a beautiful language. It cannot match with any other language in this world. I'm not trying to demean other languages. I'm just saying because you know what does the word Samskritam mean? Kritam means what? Perfect. Samskritam means that language which can't get any more perfect. The language itself means it is a perfect language. Will a language boast of itself without having some ability in it? That is Sanskrit. So the last of all is Ahankaram. Ahankaram. Aham means I. Anaham means which is not I. This soul is not I. This body is not I. It is the soul which is inside the body at that point in time which is the I. But when I say, when did you sleep? I slept yesterday. Which slept? The body slept. The Atma did not sleep. But I recognize this I with the body which is not the I. So this is Anaham Ahatve Janati. Hence it is called Ahankaram. This body is not mine. There is nothing called mine. See, when I say all this, don't ask me whether you've realized all this. I have not realized. But theoretically it says all this. There was a king called Janak. His kingdom was burning. His possessions were burning. The ministers were running here and thither. So at that point in time, his Acharya Yajnavalkya said, Janaka, you are not running like your ministers to protect your possessions. They are all yours. Go and protect. That time King Janak said, Pradiptayam Lankayam Name Kinchit Pradahyate. The entire city of Mithila is burning. But there are none of my possessions which are burning because there is nothing called as my possession. So that is Mamakaram. Mamakaram is to think that everything is mine. Ahankaram is to think this which is not I as I. So Ahankaram and Mamakaram, who were the personifications of that? Nothing but Ravana. If Ramana had realized that he was a possession of the Lord, he would have given Sita back to him. He thought that he was his possession and Sita was his possession. Since he had ahankaram and mamakaram, he is the one who lost it. So that is why when he fell on the battlefield of Lanka, it seems he didn't even fall this way, because he thought if he falls this way, then the Lord will by mistake think that he is prostrating before him. So he fell like this, it seems. So this is called as prapti virodhi, those which don't let us be closer to the Lord. My joke, Acharya mockingly used to say, when we are giving a religious lecture, at times the phone rings, mobile rings. Some of them keep the mobile phones inside their bag in such a way which has 7 zips. Like bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha, mahaha, janaha, tapaha, satyam. It will be below. So by the time they open all these zips and take the phone would have completed 1 round of the complete ringtone. So my Acharya used to say, when we are giving a religious lecture and some phone is ringing, this is prapti virodhi. It does not allow us to. So 5 characteristics. First characteristics, Paramatma Swarupam. Second, Jivatma Swarupam. Third, Upaya Swarupam. Fourth, Phala Swarupam. Fifth is Prapti Virodhi. All these 5 in the philosophy have been mentioned in Ramayana. Hence Ramayana is no different from a Siddhantam. Hence Ramayana, which is an Itihasa, is a great philosophy in itself. With these words, I would like to conclude this lecture, and I thank all of you for having listened and stayed back with so much of patience, and you try to persevere again and again to understand these thoughts that have sprung from my mouth by just not mere reading, but by the teachings of great acharyas who have bestowed me with this quintessential knowledge. The topic reads the philosophy of the Ramayana and the esoteric triad. Esoteric is Rahasyam. Triad is Trayam. Rahasya Trayam. In Vaishnava Sampradaya, we speak of 3 mantras. Tirumantram, Dvayam and Charama Shlokam. These are Rahasyas. You know what does the word Rahasya mean? That which should not be told in public. The moment it is told in public, it becomes Sadasya and not Rahasya. That is why Gayatri Mantra should not be recited in public. It should not be made as one's ringtone. It should not ring in a barber shop or a tea shop. It should ring only, it should be told by this person, or the person who has got this thread ceremony done at the right point in time, so that the next person is not able to hear. It's called as Ashatkarani. The 6th ear should not hear. The person who teaches has 2 ears, the person who listens has 2 ears, the third person, the 6th ear, should not hear. That is Rahasyam. Gayatri Mantra should not be sung the way that we have got the ringtone. Tan, tan, ta, tan, ta, ta. No. It should not be sung. If it is to be sung in public, then why is it a mantra? Mantram iti gopyate. That which is to be protected is a mantra. Now you will ask me, how is this possible? If you recite Gayatri Mantra, you will get good health. If that was the case, then people like me who have been reciting Gayatri Mantra I get headache, I get stomachache, every ache. By reciting Gayatri Mantra, you won't get good health and all. By reciting Gayatri Mantra, you are protecting the sun from rising. That is all. Because when the sun rises, there are certain demons called as Mandehas who do not allow the sun to rise. So when a person who has been initiated in Gayatri Mantra recites the mantra and lets the water drop to the floor, each droplet turns into a Vajrayuda and attacks those demons and lets the sun rise. So when you help the sun rise, then you are protecting the world. This is the only reason. By reciting Gayatri Mantra, now you will have to tell me, they say, मैंने पढ़ा था book में, आया था ये benefits है, किधर है, शास्त्र में बोलिए. So Gayatri Mantra should be recited only by people who have been initiated with a thread ceremony at only the right points in time. After Surya Astamanam, it should not be recited. Before Brahma Muhurtam, it should not be recited. It should be recited only by murmuring. The best way is not even to murmur. So that is Rahasya. That is why the esoteric triad, the Rahasyas that I have been saying, I am not telling it. I'll just conclude with one Rahasya which can be told in public. That is a Sadasyam. Remember this. Pranavam, which is Omkara. We should never say that Omkara in public. Now everybody starts, everybody recites that Omkara. I don't know whether I am at mistake, they are at mistake. I could be wrong, they could be wrong. Shastra say Omkare na sadasam kurvati. You should not recite it in public. So this Omkara has 3 syllables. A, U, Ma. Now when Ram, Sita and Lakshman walked in the forest, one behind the other. Ram, Sita, Lakshman, they three walked. Valmiki composes a shloka. Agrataf prayayau Ramaha, Sita madhye sumadhyama, Prishtatastu dhanushpanihi, Lakshmanaha anujagamaha. Ha in Sanskrit means sambodhanam. You say alas, right? Likewise, ha means sambodhanam. Agrataf prayayau Ramaha. A in Omkar denotes Paramatma. So Ram is walking. Agrataf prayayau Ramaha. Sita madhye su madhyama. U comes there. Prishtatastu dhanushpanihi Lakshmanaha. Ma comes. So U, ma. Ram, Sita, Lakshman. Agrataf prayayau Ramaha, Sita madhye su madhyama, Prishtatastu dhanushpanihi Lakshmanaha. So U, ma comes. So stands for Paramatma, who's Ram. Sita stands for the connection between Ram and Lakshman, who's Ma, which is Jivatma. So Ma is Jivatma, is Paramatma, Sita is the one who acts as a link between the and the Ma. So this is Omkaram, says the poet. This comes in the first shloka of Aranya Kanda. So this is the Rahasya. There are many other Rahasyas hidden in it. It's called Ashtadasha Rahasyam. Ramayana has 18 Rahasyas in it. The last Rahasya that I would like to say is Gayatri Mantram. Why is it called Gayatri? It's not the name of the next house auntie. Gayatri is the name of a meter in Sanskrit. In English, you have a sonnet. A 14-line poem is called a sonnet. A 3-line poem with 7, 5 and 7 syllables in Japanese is called as haiku. In Sanskrit, any shloka which has 24 alphabets is called Gayatri.